Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the thought, talk, and think show. The only one that's surviving on the internet today, where you can hear logical, common sense, something that a bear would do, something that a deer would do in protecting those that look like him. And that's what we're at African Americans are trying to accomplish here. Whole bunch of stuff going on in the world, and it's to break the world down. And so today we want to talk about an instant that is happening, and it seems like when these type of things happen, the people who call themselves African Americans don't do anything. I'm talking about as a group. Yes, it's plenty of groups and individuals out there that do everything, that do a lot, but they're not the majority of people. The majority of our people love to wallow in ignorance and dumbness. And we can't do it. We just can't afford it for you to turn your back on yourself. And so this information that we give here at African Americans Ain't Africans are here for the people who can receive it, because African Americans don't search for information. It takes a special kind of person to search for information, finding out what's their purpose on this earth and how they can make it a better place. The people who call themselves African Americans don't do that. As you know, they're an offshoot they're cloned from Black people, who are cloned from Negro people, who are cloned from whatever name Walter Plecker and all those people decided to label you with. We're offshoots of each of those. And so now what we've been devolved in, and you can tell by the music that's playing. You want to learn a culture? What are they listening to? Listen to the music that the youth are listening to. Now, if you put on Earth, Wind, and Fire today, the kids wouldn't even recognize it. But that's all the children were listening to 2 decades ago. So how did that go from that to this? And today we're bringing in Rick Moon, and he's going to talk about that along with the birth certificates and how they're using that to just X you out. So without any further ado, what's going on, Rick Moon?
Hey, ain't nothing going on, Indigenous one. How's everybody doing out there? What's up, America? And y'all know what I mean by America. So I've already explained that. So how y'all doing out there today? Today, we're going to talk about this birth certificate thing. As a matter of fact, it's already happened. You know, I'm just letting you in on what went on and all that. But before I get into that, I was wanting to talk about, there's a video out as well. Before I say that, myself, I am a member of FIA. I've been a member of FIA ever since 2006. And I've also learned a lot since I started going up there, and I will also continue to go up there as long as I can. But there's a video out. There's a individual out there, and I don't want to say any names or who it is or anything like that, because I'm gonna give him the same respect that he gave us, although we knew he was talking about us. But this individual is putting out videos talking about fear and how we've been hustling people, charging people, for classes, and stuff like that. But what I wanted to say was, I've learned a lot since I've been up there, since I've been going up there, and most of the people that I've met up there has also learned a lot, and every year, I learn more and more, and I also realize that it costs. There's a cost, to get all this information, and we're not only giving you information, we're also doing it practically. We're also showing people how stuff is done, showing people how to survive in the forest. So we just not only just teach, in the classroom, we also do it practically. And unfortunately, it costs a little bit. It costs money, and the problem is a lot of people think that everything is supposed to be free. But
No, they don't think everything is supposed to be free. They just think they're supposed to be getting it free from you.
Right,
See,
right.
if somebody tells them $10,000 for some spinning rims, they won't. Can you come down a little bit? They'll do that to you, but they're not doing that to nobody else. So those people, we really have to pinpoint that sickness and bring it out so we can know how to avoid it, because they really slow up our progress a lot.
Right. And so and what's going on is, see, everybody but see, if this was the other man, or the alien man, the Euro alien, we be talking about that's all that costs. That's cheap.
Yep.
But when it comes to our own, we got to give it to you at a certain thing. But like I said, it costs money, because we have to have tools. We have to have, all kinds of stuff. And my mind is boggling right now, because I'm thinking about how this knucklehead did this. But it costs for for paper, for you. We are, also other costs, and also you have to pay for time. I mean, when you get people that's putting their whole day aside, because we could be doing something else, but people put their whole day aside to show you how to survive, because it's coming, and it's coming. It's going to be one day where we're going to have to stand on our own, because we probably see now that nobody trying to help us. We're trying to get with everybody in the world, but nobody trying to get with us. Everybody who got a tiny bit of so-called black in them, we claiming them, but none of them are claiming us. And then and then you got people out here that's trying to show you how to, because let me say this: being indigenous is just not knowing. There comes a responsibility with that. And from this video that I'm watching, all this dude is concerned with is getting people registered. Registered with what? The UN? UN don't care nothing about you.
See, this is what I mean about people who, supposed to be conscious. Isn't the UN the amalgamation of all the countries that conquered the world? Aren't they the only ones who have main votes? This is what I'm saying. We're so far behind, man. Damn.
Right. And they're all they really, and the way, the video is like 10 minutes long, and all this dude talk about is getting people registered. I mean, is that it? I mean, are you going to are you going to teach people how to survive in the situation in the forest, our natural environment? Because that's part of That's part of them respecting you. You just can't say, yeah, I'm indigenous. You got to live the part too.
Wearing feathers on your head.
That's right. You got to live the part. If you ain't living the part, nobody gonna respect you. Nobody's gonna respect you. And that is one of the reasons why fear was created, to teach us, to take us back to our indigenous ways. And that's also the only way we're going to be able to turn this thing around. See, we think we can do it, just do it their way. Well, they made it. They're the one who made the game. How you gonna beat the man at the game that he made up? And they not only just made up, they refined it. I almost made it perfect, and it worked. It worked on us. And so I just wanted to put that out, to let people know that, that we're here to help folks. We're not here to beat you out of your money, and me anyway, because I don't get paid out of this anyway. I got to pay just like everybody else, and I don't have a problem with it, and I'm not rich. So, and also, like next month, that's when Fear has its summit. Next month, it's $100 for 8 days. That's all, $100.
See, a person to get into Disney World, a motherfucker paid 15 times that. He won't question $100 for 8 days. God damn. You know what I'm saying? This is how we are. It should be free. You will go support everybody. I bet you go spend $100 on them weaves.
Right, but what that $100 is covering is covering costs. Because you have to prepare for this stuff, and it costs money to prepare too. And there are certain costs that you're going to inherit trying to prepare for something like the summit, and it costs, and so and believe me, Ambassador Redine ain't rich either. I mean, she does well. She does well enough, but she's not rich either. So everybody who think that everything that everything is too high or whatever, hey, try it yourself. Try to do what we do and see how much it's gonna, and see if you can do what we do for free.
I like to interject. That's not the point. Because Negroes got money to spend all day. Money is just a tool to keep people in a certain place. The rich part is not it. The thing that we're missing as a group of people is we don't trade with each other. See, somebody else, all the other groups, they trade with each other. They give their money to each other, and it's an exchange back and forth to them that keeps them motivated, that keeps them wanting to do better, that keeps them on top of their game. We don't do that. We will get our check. We will go give a Asian woman $400 for some hair. That's where our loot goes. We'll go give some company $200 for a pair of tennis shoes. Everything we get is served to us by some foreigner. And the arrogance that we have, walking around like we the shit, and you got a house full of shit that you didn't even make. You look like a fool. That's every single last one of us. We don't produce nothing, and that's not a problem. We'd rather watch a football game before that. We'd rather do all this dumb stuff that don't mean nothing. That's the African American. That's what they do. This is not nothing I'm talking about them. I'm saying something bad. This is what they do. They make sure that they stay at the bottom. And if you check out the definition of African American, that's what it is. I'm sorry, Rick.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Well, yeah, I just wanted to put that out, let everybody know, and I'm telling you, most people that's been to that summit has always enjoyed themselves too. I mean, we work up there, but we also have times where we have fun too. And mostly everybody that comes up there usually enjoy themselves. I've been, like I said, I've actually been going up there since 2008, and each time I learn more and more every time I go up there. So if everybody wanna, you're very welcome to come up and have a good time with us, because I'm telling you, it's really a treat. And with that, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the subject at hand. Uh, and I couldn't find out the exact date when this was done. Well, I know it's supposed to be done by now, but I don't know the exact date when it was done. It was ordered, but the Supreme Court signed an amendment to the U.S. National Center for Health Statistics laws to make it mandatory for them to change every birth certificate on record that labels Negro or Mulatto to African American by May 2019. So that's already passed. So everybody whose birth certificate says either Negro or Mulatto, it has been changed to African American. And we're going to get into discussion is why is that so significant? But a little history, and I'm gonna tell you, I for some reason I love the Wikipedia. They always give you something, thinking that you ain't gonna pick it up. So they try to give you a little piece. They give you a hint, but they make you figure it out on your own. But they'll give you a hint. And I was looking up the word Negro in the Wikipedia, and that my stupid butt didn't write down the definition it had. But what I found significant about it, there was a statement in there that said that Negro was used to describe Native Americans in the 17th century by a historian, some European historian back in the 70s. They didn't say his name or anything, just say some 17th century. And I imagine that he's European, historian in the 17th century was saying that Negro was used to describe Native Americans. Okay, now Native Americans, let's talk about that for a sec. Native Americans wasn't made popular until the 1960s and 70s. That's when Native American gained its ground. That's when it became a popular term, 60s and 70s. And we talking about the 17th century here, when this historian said that Negro was used to describe Native Americans. And to back that, first of all, Negro has been on the birth certificate since 1950. So those have been on the birth certificate since 1950. Also, that's when Indian was changed to Native American on the 1950 census. So they wouldn't even call themselves, because it really, like I said, it really didn't catch on until the 60s and 70s, although it was on the census in the 50s. Okay, Now, the cost of them doing this, changing all those birth certificates, is nearly $100 million of taxpayers' money. So us that work, that's where that money's coming from, for them to change all these birth certificates.
That's your reparations money.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah, because I don't know. We might find a time to talk about it, but everybody got a bank account that they don't know about. But anyway, in 1705, this is when they started calling, that's when the Europeans started giving us all these names. And in 1705, American Indian referred to males, on males only, and I'm talking about adult males only, and I'll explain why. Females were called Negro at that time. In 1705, they called males American Indian. The females were called Negro. Okay, now, and in 1868, during the 1868 treaty, that's when all of us were changed to Negro. That's when both males that's when the males were called Negro. And one of the reasons why, and this is my opinion, and it actually is based on fact, because I know the reason why I think in 1705 males were called American Indians and females were called Negro is because when they came over here, we was kicking their butts. Our males were kicking their butt in everything. In all these, when they tried to come over here and take over, we was kicking their butt. Them one-shot rifles that y'all think that they was killing us with, had no effect. We was dominating them. So what this means to me is, being that the males were the stronger and they were kicking these Europeans' butt so much that they had to convince him to go against his female. Yeah, brothers, we had something to do with all of this. Our ancestors, that is, our male ancestors did. So they beat us. So they beat us with the pen instead of in any kind of warfare, because we were smoking them. And another thing, like those treaties, that was another mistake we made. The winners never signed treaties with the losers. We was the winners, and we made treaties with them. We let them write the treaties. So, that's the reason why I think it took a while for them to change everybody over.
Well, let me ask you this. So do you think that what happened then, because you can see it happening,
right?
How do you think that manifests with us today?
Well, what you talking about? You want me to like a little history of it, or what happened as a time?
No. So, like you said, they convinced us to go against the females amongst us,
right?
And you can see that manifest in a myriad of ways today.
Okay. What, you want a few examples?
Yeah, I mean, how was that prevalent? How was that move on the chessboard? How does that filter down to today?
Well, I'll give you a couple of ways that is filtered down. I mean, look at what's happening with us today. Us males and females don't even get along today. Our males and our females are not getting along. That it worked this way up until they started. What they did, they made the male weaker and made the female stronger to get us to turn on each other. After getting the males to actually turn on the females, because I'm sorry, y'all, you gotta look at this with common sense. Males, one of the males' primary job is to protect. So when these Europeans came over to our homeland, who did they meet? They didn't meet the females. They met the males. They couldn't beat you. They tried, but you destroyed them. So they had to find another way. So they got you to go up against your female, and that continues today. And like I said, you know, right now males and females don't get along. We don't get along very good at all these days. Not our people.
So you saying this plot was hitched in the 1700s?
Oh, it was hitched well before that. That's just one of the things that happened leading up to today.
Yes.
Oh, this was going on long. Heck, this was going on in 1492. You know, when they supposedly when they first got here. So this was going. That's where they came over here. They had a plan when they came over here. It just didn't manifest until 1868 when they got us to when they made all of us Negroes. And what happened? That's also when the United States was created, and the United States took control of 770 million acres that belonged to indigenous females. They took it over. Let me say that again. The United States Corporation took over 770 million acres belonging to indigenous females.
So as they were doing that, what were the males doing?
As they were taking from the male, well, the males actually the males were the females became like almost like property for the males. So you know what I say they done was they made the male feel invincible. You know, like he was the, you know, that's when patriarchal. That's when we started to become patriarchal. They got into the male's head that, you know, that we are the, you know, even though it was the females that were responsible for giving out the earth to the males to build on and to start you know, their families on and stuff like that. That was left up to the females. But they convinced the males that, hey, y'all let these females do y'all like that, just run y'all. Y'all the bigger, y'all the biggest, y'all the stronger. Y'all should be running things. And we went for it. Sorry to tell y'all that, but that's what happened.
You know what that reminds? You know what I think of when I hear that? This shit is funny. You ever see that movie Purple Rain?
Yeah.
A Prince's Father.
Yeah.
That line when he goes, "You do as I say."
Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. So you know, these are stuff, and like I said, this is already supposed to be done. This is already supposed to be done. And as a matter of fact, we told y'all. I know we mentioned this on other shows. I know I have mentioned it on numerous occasions that everyone should go get their record of live birth. We've said that on numerous occasions. Now, I don't know if they've changed those or not. I don't see how they could be able to change it. Would you, Buck?
No. And
Not a birth of live record.
right.
They can
And you
change a
know
birth certificate.
one thing, I would suggest seriously is heading into the future, we start birthing our own babies. See,
True.
we have to start teaching these children, like Rick saying earlier, to get back into what your people did. We're going to have to start birthing our own babies. We're going to have to start making our own diapers. We're going to have to start doing that if we are going to remain on this planet. If we're not going to remain on this planet, and to show you how quick it is, look how over the past couple of generations, the homosexual lesbian agenda has taken. Now,
Right.
you can get off with a fire hydrant if you want. I don't care. But what that does, it makes sure that no babies are being born. Because see, I know how we like to get emotional because what we think we're doing something good. We're not. You're being influenced just like those brothers were back in the day. You're being influenced the same way because you're not creating no babies. Double with the abortions that we get. What? So you see, and this is how you're taken off the set. This is how you're wiped out. And so the African American doesn't think. He doesn't look at that as a viable. What I just said is viable. He just looking at all that nigga talking shit.
Right.
You got to pay attention to what's happening. Your purpose on this planet is not to be screwing around. And we think I can do what I want to do. It's my knob. It don't work like that. So our primary purpose here is to help keep this earth in cosmic balance.
Correct.
We keep this earth balanced. So you hear about there's a pole shift. The reason it'll change is because the people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. They have no connection to their home. They don't even know what to do. They scared to go to their home. Do you know how many people I encounter that say they will never go to Mississippi again? Are you crazy? One of the most beautiful places on the planet. They have convinced you that Mississippi is a hellhole.
Yep.
And you just walked away from your land with your chest out and proud of it. You're going to pay for that. You walk away from it, and all these foreigners come over here and just take it. And you sitting up here looking like a fool. That's the African American. Ask them. They'll tell you. Ask Africans. Since you're an African American, how come the Africans and the African Americans aren't close? Buddy. They don't even screw with you. They treat you worse than everybody else. And you screw them. You go over there and give them your money, but you won't go down to South America to where the other half of your family lives. And this is the African American, just a feeble-minded, not thinking. You offer him some information, he'll cuss you out. Don't know how to communicate. And while all this is going around, so I would suggest that really listen to what this brother's saying, because he's telling you you're a natural people. Natural people come from the natural world. And the African American has been totally cut off from that. And you see the problems we're having.
That's right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we're gonna get into how this affects our people. Yeah, and before I do that, I should have done this from the beginning. I wanted to give a shout out to Phoenix Moon, because she the one that put up this that put up the article about the birth certificates, and I saw it earlier this week, and I thought it was important enough to talk about. So shout out to Phoenix. Sorry about that, babe. I should have hit you at the beginning. But anyway, and I got this from a petition that we put out years ago. That we put out maybe about 3 years ago. That we had come from FIA. It's one of the petitions that FIA made up about 3-4 years ago, something like that. Now, this is how them being able to change those birth certificates like that is going to affects us. Number one, in 2020, our generational political identity of the Negro for our people born from indigenous females will be gone. So you will no longer have an identity. Okay. Number two, it will erase our connection as trustee to the Public Land Trust. That's the 1868 treaty, the Public Land Trust, where the 770 million acres that belong to our females are being controlled by the United States. So by them taking Negro off of there, that's taking that, because Negro is a code word for Indian, which is a code word for the copper-colored indigenous people that were here when the European got here. 3, it will assimilate the indigenous people into ethnic Africans, minority immigrants. That's another thing. And Buck has said this on numerous occasions. Nowhere on the planet are the indigenous people a minority. But that's what you're reducing yourself to by calling yourself African American. Number 4, it removes the population placed under this identity and all generations from these treaties, political history, and cultural heritage belonging to our people as Negroes. So all the history that we've had in this country as Negroes will be wiped away.
Oh, so that's the purpose of the African American Museum.
Yep.
And you see how they get us to, and they get us to, I mean, because when that library opened, you had Negroes fainting and all that other dumb stuff they do. And so I see how they get us to submit that stuff.
Right. Right. Number 5, you no longer have a correct self-identification on the census. So now it's going to say African American, which means ethnic African that was born in America. So now you no longer are connected to this landmass called America. Number 6, and this is a big one. You become vulnerable to legal deportation of indigenous people of America. In other words, you calling yourself African American, you can be possibly deported. Now, I would bet you, and even these Afrocentrics too, who talk all that mess, if they put down in the census that they African American, they start getting reported, they'll start crying like little bitches. I'm telling you, guaranteed. They'll cry like little bitches because if they didn't, they would have their butt over there right now.
That's what I tell the Negro. Hey man, if you are African, you know this is the 25th anniversary of the Rwanda massacre. Those people over there need help and healing. Go over there and help your brothers. You should see the look on their faces.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You should see the look on their faces. A sister posted something earlier this week, and she was like, she said, we don't even look like those people. I'm like, and so this is why I told her the term black comes in. This is why these terms, they don't mean the same thing for other people that they mean for you.
That's
So
right.
so I like the term black. You've never seen a black person before in your life. Only things can be colors. And the things can be moved by other people. So black people, they're not a people, they're just a cardboard cutout that people move them around wherever they want to. And we make sure they do it like that. That's the killer part. We do all the dirty work for them,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that we're doing something and doing nothing but destroying yourself.
That's right.
So, brother, I hear what you're saying. You speaking loud and clear, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we have, well, let me go over. This is the last one. This is the last one. Number 7. It allows, and this is a good one too. It allows the U.S. government to cleanse the entire indigenous population in America without firing a shot.
Say that again.
It allows the U.S. government to cleanse the entire indigenous population in America without a shot.
So, so this is what I'm seeing. You see how you seen that whole Disneyland fiasco. So
Yeah, I saw that.
when stuff like that is put out, we looking at it in one way. But the people who make up these manifestos and sign these treaties and is over the law and who's putting out the birth certificates and the census and all this, those people use those terms for their benefit, not for yours.
That's right.
So when you see those people in Disneyland acting like a fool and you saying what you normally say, that's a damn shame. The rest of the world is looking at it like, wow, at the happiest place on earth, these monkeys are fighting. This is what makes it easier for other people to attack you because they think you're animals anyway. Because you act like that and you put it on social media.
That's right.
So we're not the only ones watching it. Other people are. And when it's time to say, you know what, we need to go in there and watch and remove those 100,000 people, nobody will say nothing. They're glad you're gone. And you walking around mad like something. This is what you bring upon yourselves.
That's right. That's right.
And it's not just poor people. I don't want you to think it's just poor people because a lot of people think it's just poor. No, it's the Negroes who are well to do. They're the problem too, because you make sure that we stay in this. We don't create nothing on our own. We don't try to say, you know what, we're going to live in places where when if it does rain, if it does hurricanes come through, if tornadoes come through, we're safe. We're not even familiar enough with our own homeland to know that.
That's right.
We live where other people put us. And cool, and we happy that that's happening. Those are called African Americans. There's no thinking. You're being wiped off this planet right now. That's what this brother's trying to tell you. Their speed, we've been sounding the alarm. We've been sounding the alarm. These people are trying to get rid of you. And they've been doing it since from the, listen, 300 to erase the people from a continent as big as Central North America is no easy feat. You can't, that's something you don't do overnight. You don't do that. You don't remove a whole continent of people overnight. It takes time. It takes cunning. It takes stealth. It takes, and you never ask. We never, because and we never ask, why are all these people coming over to America? Because the rest of those places are the real shitholes. They've been warring, killing, dogging each other out over there for so long, since their inception. Now they're coming to America to get your stuff, like Rick just said, 770 million acres that you don't even know is yours, because you'd rather go work at the car wash, for real, cuz? That's where you at? Yeah. This is where we're at. This is a trip. So this is the final, what's the final solution, what they're saying. So that's why this census thing is very important. See, the claiming that you from Africa somewhere, that's just pushing you out the door. But they're not doing it, so they won't have to reap the benefits from it. Because whatever you do, what goes around comes around. So they do it in a way where you have to pay the karmic debt. And that's your karmic debt. You call yourself an African? Okay, be an African. Those people don't claim you. You haven't questioned that? The African American doesn't question anything. The African American does as they're told. That's how they live. When you see a person that's an African American, believe me, and thinking they don't think. This is what they have been made to be. So going back to that Disneyland thing, and I'm gonna get back to you, Rick. If you ever get to see a movie called The Kingsman, it talks about this, how through the cell phones, they're gonna activate people to do stuff, to just turn on each other. That's what that whole Disneyland thing reminded me of. The job is to, make an America a home for the whole world and not for you. If you can't see that, I really don't know what to say.
That's right. That's right. Well, so our as far as what should we do about this? Because you always got to talk about solutions. To all of this. Like I said earlier, we need to get our birth records of live birth, and if you go get one, and it says African American on it, then give it back to them and tell them, nah, I want the official one. I want the one that was, original. I want the original. Because like I said, Negro was created in 1950. That's when they started putting it on birth certificate. And, like I said, we've been talking about this for I know we've been talking about this for years. I've been telling people that you need to go get your birth record. I don't know how many people have done that, but I hope a lot of people took heed to it. And like I said, I can't see them changing your record of live birth. See, they don't talk about it because they don't want you to know about your record of live birth. That's why they don't talk about it. They only talk about the birth certificate, because that's what they want you to come and get. They won't tell you about your record of live birth. You have to request it on your own. You have to tell them, yo, can I have my record of live birth? And like I said, even if you go on to pick up your birth certificate, if you were born during the time where Negro was prominent, heck, you need to challenge them on that. because and it's funny, and you know what's funny? Back in the day when I was growing up, it was an embarrassment to be called black. That was People want to fight you if they called you black. If you called them black. Heck, I remember. Matter of fact, I remember a few occasions because my father, he's dark skinned. My mother's light skinned. I can remember a few arguments where they got mad at each other and started calling each other those type of names. Yo, black ass, stuff like that. And that was a insult in those days. Now they done turned it around. Now Negro is an insult and black is accepted. See how they play with us, and they do this and right in our faces. And we don't do nothing for ourselves and we don't think they do this stuff to us. That's funny. A word that was derogatory in the day became a word to be proud of, and the word to be proud of back in the day became the derogatory word. Amazing. Amazing. So so other things we can do is put the word out. That's another thing we need to do. Put the word out. About what's going on. Like I said, this happened. This is already supposed to be done, and I'm just not seeing the article. Although I knew that was going to have to be one thing that changed because this was being talked about years ago. So I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it had already come and passed. And all them so-called politicians and stuff, so-called black politicians, that's why they black politicians, because they ain't no good either. If they was indigenous politicians, maybe something will get done.
Yeah, I think we have to really check deeply on these terms and words that we're using because remember, this isn't our language. That's why we have such a hard time communicating. What you want, what you should be saying, these words don't allow you to say it. And one more thing about the live birth record that Rick was talking about. This is what I noticed on mine. The name is not in all capital letters.
True.
That's what woke me up to this stuff. It's like, well, damn. So how they put it, they're just changing the way the lettering, the fonts on that's all it takes is to change you. And all they got to do is put the suit out there. If you wear it, you it. That's how they do it. That's how they get us. So I would say, like he said, get your live birth record. Find out who your people are. I say find out who your people are so you can kind of resonate back to the place who your people are. Because you see what they having down in New Orleans right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they get the people off the land through that. I know they have weather wars, earthquakes,
right,
all kind of stuff. So this is going to be the time. If you're already dumb and stupid now, there's probably that's just how it is. You got to come back.
Yeah.
The people who are looking down the line for their families and stuff, or even their eventual return. Go ahead, Rick.
Another thing that I was going to suggest people do, especially the younger folks who birth certificate don't say Negro. Y'all need to, especially the elders, like especially like the elders who getting ready to. I don't want to put any bad luck on anybody, but the elders that's getting ready to pass on, if they got that type of information, if they got their birth certificates, I don't think the birth certificate. I don't think they started making birth certificates until like the late 30s. Uh, but but if they have birth certificates, y'all need to collect those and make sure that you have those in possession before they move on. Because like I said earlier, that is your connection. Negro is your connection to Indian, which is your connection to you being the indigenous people of America that these European alien devils saw when they got here. So that's another thing that, as a matter of fact, I would suggest, all of us to do that if we can. Start collecting this stuff, man. Keep the connection. All right, because like I said, by them doing all this stuff, it's erasing everything that you've ever done. It's basically erasing almost your whole history, or where heritage. I don't know. I hate that word history, but they're erasing everything, your whole past, just about. And what they're hanging and what they're letting you know is mainly lies. What they do tell you is basically lies. So we need to we got to get up on these things, man. And anything else you got booked? Because that's about all I got. As far as talking about this, I think it should be clear to most people, what they're trying to do to us and what they're doing to us behind the back. That's why we've been having these last few shows, trying to hit people know, let people know what other people are doing behind your back and getting away with.
Right.
So anything else you want to add on to that, Buck, before we close out?
No, man. Yeah, I'm still vibing off what you was talking about. Cool.
Oh, okay, well, I'll say a little bit before I close out. Uh, we gotta, and I'm gonna continue to say this. Yeah, you're gonna hear it again. You gotta return back to nature, folks. That's the only way that we're gonna turn this thing around. That's the only way that we're gonna return everything to what nature intended. And nature is absolute truth, so it never lies. So you got to think like nature. If you start thinking like nature, you'll start doing like nature. No, I'm not perfect. There's still things that I gotta tighten up on too. But I recognize and and I'm trying, and daily I'm continue to change and continue to change, more into what I'm supposed to be. So people, let's get in tune with nature, man, because you connect. Like I said, you connected to everything. All living plants, you connected to, because that's where your oxygen comes from. So when they cutting down these trees, they cutting off your life support. And fortunately, unfortunately for us, they, it don't bother them as much cutting down these trees. It don't bother these aliens that's doing it. It don't bother them as much as it bothers us. Because that's why they're able to climb them 30, 40,000 foot mountains all the way to the top, because the higher you go, the less oxygen it is. That's why you never hear about too many brothers being up there. That's why you see, that's another reason why we mainly have bigger nostrils than they do, because we need more oxygen than they do. So, and by them getting rid of nature, which they can never do, And I'll give you an example. You notice these sidewalks and stuff like that. Notice how stuff growing through them. So you can't stop Mother Nature. You ain't gonna stop it no matter how much you cover up. But us who continue to support, to go against nature and support this artificial system, we got karma to pay for it, y'all. And they understand. They understand. They know they can't stay on this planet. But if we don't turn around, we're not gonna be able to stay here either. That's the problem. So with that, I'm go ahead and close out and turn it back over to you, Buck.
Cool, man. Appreciate you coming on, man, sharing with us.
No problem, man. No problem. Hey, I'm trying to get the word across, man. I'm trying to get a little bit more vocal in this thing because we gonna need it.
Well, cool, man. Well, again, I thank you. And I want to thank the people for spending their Saturday morning with us. We just want to pass on some information that we thought could be helpful, be useful to you. You'll notice over the past few decades, your ethnic identity has went from colored, Negro, Black, African American. Every generation or so, your ethnic identity changes. We have to start questioning things like that happen, because what your grandmother was labeled as, you're not considered as. This is how they erase you from the land. So we hope this was helpful to you. Please, contact us. You can contact me here on YouTube. You have any more questions, anything we can do to help, or anything that we can be of assistance, please let us know. We'll help you out the best we can. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end it. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a good day.